welcome ladies and gentlemen, my name is Juggernaut and these will be my semi-first impressions slash preview of Dungeontop, Spellsword cards. Now, what is this game? Well, it is a roguelite with... sorry. Great start. It is a roguelite with deck building, and I think it's best described as a mix of Hearthstone and Slay the Spire. It is an indie game, it is currently in early access. I have been generously given a beta access key by the developers, and I think it's best that I describe the game the way it was described to me in the email. So, Spellsword Cards Dungeontop is a roguelike deck-building experience coupled with tabletop battles. Choose a hero and allegiance, then dive into the dungeon, evolving your deck for survival. Each choice you make matters, even in between battles. Well, actually, especially in between battles, but hey. Main features, roguelike permadeath deck builder, played in runs of 90 minutes. Debate. I think it's a little bit more than 90 minutes, but okay. 2 classes, well, but then again, I infamously play games stupidly slowly, but hey. 2 classes and 2 allegiances equals 4 decks, with more to come. I'm going to talk about this quite a bit. 300 player cards, 50 plus encounters, 5 boards representing different areas ranging from 4x4 to 10x4 tiles. We'll get into that as well. So, there's also a brief description here. I'm going to copy all this into the description of this video, and you can check out how they market their game. But for now, let's get into it and start anew with a new hero. So, choose an allegiance, and you choose a hero. I need to unlock the mage, still haven't done that, but I've never played with this deck, so I'm going to try with the Hand of Kareem. Combo-oriented allegiance to sacrifice his own minions to gain an advantage. That seems fun. The talents remain the same for the warrior. Okay, let's begin, and I will show you. Huffledown the Deathwalker. Sure, I really like the names, by the way. I've never changed them so far, and I've done 2 runs. So, I'm going to skip over the story a little bit here, and we'll get to the meat of the gameplay, which is the roguelite experience. So, this is the main map. You can move about it as you see fit. The enemies do not move. However, you, for example, cannot skip over a room if there's an enemy in it. There's sealed doors, you're going to find treasures, blacksmiths to upgrade your cards, temples to remove some cards from the deck. If you've ever played Slay the Spire, you're going to feel right at home with this sort of moving around, except that there is nothing chasing you. And you can go and visit these encounters in any order you like. So there's no timer, you can move back and forth between these two for you know, 50 minutes, there's no sort of time pressure like that. There's the amount of encounters you need to do to finish the map. So, let's begin with the first battle, and I think all will be apparent what this game is all about. So, enemy deck is consistent of these 3 things, and you can look at the deck of the enemies you're going to fight before you actually fight them. And this is how the game actually plays. So, your hero is not in the back. It is actually a unit on the field, okay? So, considering this thing does 1 damage, I don't want this. You get 3 cards at the beginning. You can, you know, choose to draw them or redraw them or whatever. I'm going to redraw both of these. Good. So, there is mana. However, most cards do not require mana to be cast. So you see how I have 3 unit cards. None of these cost mana. So all I need is space on the board in order to be able to, you know, use these. So, what do I mean is sacrifice, gain 1 power. Okay, we're going to keep this guy in the back, and we're going to place him there. Now, you can place new minions only adjacent to your already existing minions. What happens if you lose all your minions? Well, if you lose your hero, you die. So, permadeath, right? Your hero dies, the run ends, and you need to start from the beginning. So, protecting the hero is of paramount importance. On the flip side, killing the enemy hero ends the encounter. It doesn't matter if he has 10 more units on the field, if you kill the hero, you're done, right? You move on to the next encounter, and the other minions just fall apart, right? So this is what he has in his hand. It might be easy to confuse this for the enemy hero up here. You don't actually get to attack that, no. All the action is on the board here. You manipulate the board by, you know, placing and moving around heroes in various orders, buffing them up with abilities, spells, weapons, etc., etc., and that's the basic objective of the game, is to destroy the enemy hero and his minions. So, let's put down the 2 legionaries right in front here. They're going to protect our hero, and they're going to be able to do damage to the Goblin Wrangler. And considering for 1 turn they can't do anything after they're spawned in, I think this is called Summoning Sickness in most video games. Anyways, whatever it may be called, we can now actually begin to attack. So, what do we do now? Well, we can throw a javelin and eliminate this character, so we can do that, and there we go. Move this guy up, and now, minions destroyed by this minion count as sacrificed. Interesting, okay. There's an archer, we can put him back here, and he can actually fire over our legionary and hit the Goblin Wrangler. Obviously, that's going to be able to that's going to happen next turn. And over here we have Predator, a Kareem Craghound. Interesting. We're going to put that down, and well, I think we have a serious advantage over this poor goblin. Never mind. Okay, that did a bit of a number. However, this thing, I believe, can attack twice, or no, it just does damage twice. Either way, let's do some more damage there, and what does this do? When summoned, sacrifice an adjacent friendly minion and summon a meek servitor. Interesting. I'm going to sacrifice this one, I think. Ooh. Oh yeah, it is called Summoning Sickness. I mean, in this game as well, it's literally called Summoning Sickness. Didn't actually pay attention to that previously when I played. Okay, so let's move them like this. And I think I'm going to summon one more, because this only has 1 health. You picked the wrong one. It doesn't matter, we can add block to it. Okay, there we go. So, I think you've basically got the gist of the game, even though we're completely dominating this poor Goblin Wrangler. Later down the line, the game does get really tough, and I still haven't beaten the run fully. I've done, well, in my defense, I've only done 2 runs, right? But I did get defeated towards the end of the game, so one of my first, or I guess one of my main concerns when trying this out was, is the game going to be too easy? Because Slay the Spire is pretty darn difficult, and Hearthstone is a multiplayer game, so it doesn't fall in the same domain, but, you know, that said, it is still pretty darn difficult due to its very nature, right? There's quite a lot of combinations you need to think about, and so on and so forth. It's quite a complex game, and my chief concern was, is this going to lack that level of complexity? Early on, kind of, but early on is where you build your deck and build your combos. It's meant to be easy. Later down the line, the game does get challenging. I'm also going to talk about like mostly the positive things right now, and then I'll transition on to some nitpicks and some things I'm quite critical of. So, this is how you manage loot. So you have these hourglasses, which is reveals. By the way, so here's the thing. Reveals is a resource. However, the first 2 reveals are free. So, for example, I need a weapon right now, so I'm going to grab this weapon, and I'm going to grab 1 minion. Okay? First 2 reveals are free. Firestones are not. Oh, sorry, Flarestones. Flarestone is what you use when you want to keep a certain card. So let's say if we want to take those 2. Whoops. We had to spend those Flarestones. Now let's get over to the blacksmith, and we can upgrade a card. The first upgrade is free, as far as I remember. So, let's see, who do we want to upgrade? I'm thinking probably the Initiate. And you can also pay treasure. Now, treasure is not the same as gold. Gold is a resource for when you're outside of the run. It's basically, I think the only thing you can do with gold right now is maybe buy cards in your deck preparation before you actually embark on a run, and you can unlock the mage character. But in the game itself, you pay with treasures, which is basically like rare artifacts. It can be minions, it can be equipment, stuff like that. But it's fairly rare, and I want to redraw this. Okay, good. So let's move this way, put down a thing, and then a thing, and then a thing, and we're already within striking distance of this guy. Someone copy without this effect in its place. Interesting. Good. So yeah, strength and numbers, I suppose, is the name of the game here. Quite amusing. We're mighty difficult to get rid of, I'm afraid. So let's start caving his skull in. Fortunately, this guy doesn't have a lot of damage to his name, but let's move him up. And you can fire above him, so let's do that. And I mean, I guess I can do this as well, because more HP. And you I'm just going to put there to protect my other character. And I'm keeping the hero in the back, because I don't want to put him in any danger, because there's no need to. Now, visually also, I think the game does a pretty nice job. It gives me a Darkest Dungeon feel. This is sort of gritty and dark, and the look of the minions is pretty darn cool, right? I have nothing negative to say on that account. So, let's move on then to some of the nitpicking. And again, I want to stress out, the early game is very easy. Later down the line, it gets a lot more difficult. So don't let that be... Basically, just take that into consideration. Also, the game's not out yet. It comes out on the 15th of January. So, yeah, it might... all the stats here and stuff like that are subject to change. And I'll keep both of these, sure. Heal up to 2 HP. I think I'd rather get dash. Or more HP in general. I think I'll start with dash for now due to the nature of the deck. Okay. Let's move on, and I'll start with a few things that I don't actually like all that much. Which card do I want to trade? I think I want to give away this one, because I really don't like it. Do I prefer that one? Yeah, kind of, I suppose. Okay. So, few nitpicks about the game. Only 3 cards. I think I understand why. But on this sort of small scale of things, it gets a little bit iffy, you know. I would appreciate more ability to manipulate the amount of cards you draw, the amount of cards in your deck. If you could increase that, I think this would be good with a different deck, right, or a different hero. So, for example, you have the Guardian, or the Knight, or whatever his name is, you have the Mage, maybe add like a Thief, or a Priest, or whatever, or like a stereotypical role that will have more cards at his disposal, but can only play a limited number of them. I think that would be somewhat cool. Also, yeah, I'm going to keep these because I think I can finesse my way into... Nah, probably not. I can give him haste. I mean, I don't see a reason not to, and that is a beautiful segue into my next criticism of the game. The fact that you discard everything at the end of your turn. Now, again, this is, I think, a direct... Well, it's not... Slay the Spire wasn't the first game to think of this, obviously, but it's a direct nod to Slay the Spire, right? This is a mechanic from Slay the Spire. And I understand why, but at the same time, I don't like it. You only have 3 cards to begin with. There are certain situations where you don't want to play the card. For example, the haste card, I would really like to have that one back, right? I really like to keep that one and play it next turn. The way things are, you discard everything at the end of your turn, which basically makes it so there's no reason whatsoever for you to keep your card. For you to think about what card you're going to play. I think that would add an added layer. That's a stupid sentence. That would add an additional layer of thinking, I suppose, if that makes any sense. It would add an additional layer of complexity to the game that otherwise you wouldn't have. That's not a black steel minion. Huh. Oh well. Okay, let's add block to you because you do a decent bit of damage, and I'd like to kill you very much. Alright, good, there we go. So I think that would add a decent, an additional layer of complexity to the game, and again, maybe not with this class if you don't want to change it, but maybe for the future if you know, if nothing else. This is a terrible weapon. I need to get rid of this weapon. This is, like, actually a terrible weapon. Wow. Okay. Copy of a friendly minion. I think that one I'd like a copy of. And you can get rid of him. Or you can't, but, you know, you'll try later. Anyways, we have board control, that's most important of all things. Mind you, he's getting more minions in. Might want to put an end to that. How exactly shall we go about doing such a thing, though? Well, let's clear the board a little bit. And then put you down. And then put you down right there. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with this. Actually doing me a favour. Well, kind of. Just attack, attack, attack. Then let's sacrifice this one, make him a better minion. And let's add another one of these to the top of the deck. Good. There we go. Had to focus a little bit, but, you know, there you go. It gets a little bit more complicated. Mind you, I wasn't playing at my very best there. I'm focused on what I'm trying to say, and I had to zip it there for a minute. Anyways, let's take a look at the spell and a random minion. What do you do? Target an adjacent friendly minion for sacrifice. Deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. A whole minion for 2 damage? Nah. I want one more. I don't want any of these. I'll take this one, but that's about it. Okay. On to the next thing. Variety, right? So, here's the thing. Whilst for the first few runs I can't really speak of this too much, the game is going to need more variety, for the simple reason that roguelites tend to live or die by their replayability. If you're going to do a couple of runs and figure out that actually you've seen pretty much everything there is to see about or in the game from just the first few runs, that's going to be a pretty darn big problem. Right, so you are so better than my hero at everything. This is ridiculous, and I forgot to remove the stupid weapon that nobody likes. God, this is silly. Okay. Move out of the way. I'll sacrifice you. Except that's the wrong card, never mind. Alright, good. I'm happy with that. Now, I'm not saying that there's not enough cards that you're going to see, but actually I can tell you directly, so there are 300 player cards and 50 encounters. Now, 300 player cards is quite a lot, but that's in 2 decks. So that's 150 each, plus a lot of those you aren't actually going to see, right? So a lot of those are very rare, they're treasures and so on and so forth. So you're going to be stuck with similar cards for quite a bit of the game. And that's a slight problem. So, is there not enough variety? Absolutely not. Is there not enough variety potentially for the future? Maybe. Maybe. You never know, I suppose, until you've played, you know, enough to get bored of it, and that's going to take a while, but there's more planned, obviously, but I'm sort of reviewing the game as is. It's a little bit... God, that's a lot of damage. It's a little bit on the, you know, on the I'm unsure of whether this is enough side of things. So, let's put down... I don't really want to play you, I don't think. Yeah, not really, I'll just put you in the back. Because there's no reason to not play the card, because it gets discarded anyway and then shuffled back into the deck. Yeah, that's sort of my, my key criticism of it here. I think the game would really benefit from not having that mechanic, if that makes any sense. Which one are you going to pick? I don't quite like that it's random, but hey. Can't complain too much. Let's get rid of that. Smack you in the face for some extra damage, and we're good. So, overall, would I recommend it with everything, you know, with everything said and done, that the variety of the game is a little bit questionable and the replayability of it is a little bit questionable? I think it's tough to not recommend it because the competition is pretty darn strong, right? They're trying to go not really up against, more like sort of side by side with Hearthstone and Jesus, I keep forgetting the name of it. Slay the Spire. There we go. So this is not a direct sort of competition with those games, but you are going to get compared to them quite a bit, and that's gonna be kind of a problem, right? So, problem because they're really, really good games. They're really terrific, right? And the moment you sort of do anything worse than they do, you're going to get called out for it, and it's not a pleasant thing whatsoever. But, all of that said, let's continue over here. All of that said, I do think that there is quite a lot of nuance in the game due to the way it sort of solves combat, and that's by putting everything on this board and moving it around. Slay the Spire doesn't do that. Hearthstone kind of doesn't do that. You do have a board, but you also have a hero in the background. However, the board is very linear. It's either left or right of one another, and they're facing, you know, one against each other. So that's sort of like, I guess not necessarily a negative thing, but it's a different approach to combat to what you see here, and I think that's, well, that goes in favour of this game, okay? So, however, there does, in my opinion, need to be a little bit more here for the future. Ultimately, to answer my question, would I recommend that you pick the game up? Well, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm going to need to look this up. I'm not sure about the price of the game is the thing. So, if you give me a second... let's see here. I'm going to put this... I need to kill that next turn. I need to kill that this turn. Okay, die. And then you actually want you to die, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put you there. Now, you can do ranged. I don't like that. So I'm actually going to give you block. Yeah. Okay, good. While the enemy conducts his turn, let me look up the actual game and the price of it. Something I should have done before I started the video, but look. Nobody's perfect, and you're not exactly... hello? Actually, the price isn't listed, I don't think. Huh. Yeah, the price isn't listed on the Steam page yet. Well, never mind then, I suppose. Look. Do I still recommend the game? Yes. Yes, I do. I think there's enough nuance in it to make it worth your time. And I think it is just challenging enough to keep you interested in it for a while. And yeah, it's difficult enough. It has enough variety. I'm not sure about, I'm not exactly sure how long it'll last in terms of your personal enjoyment, I suppose. Or that's a little bit of a strange way of putting it, but yeah, I'm not sure how long it'll exactly last, but nevertheless, I think there's enough content here to keep you going, and ultimately, I do recommend it. I do recommend it. It has a thumbs up from me. I've played around, apparently according to Steam, around 2 hours of it so far. I don't necessarily believe that. I think a lot of that was all tabbed. Well, a lot of that. I think maybe like half an hour or 45 minutes of that was all tabbed. But anyways, it's a solid game. It's a solid game. It's a solid roguelite if you like those. I'm a bit of a sucker for roguelites myself, so maybe I'm giving it a little bit more leeway than I should. But I did enjoy it quite a bit, and I do enjoy it quite a bit right now. And yeah, ultimately, go for it. It has my seal of approval, as little as that means in the overall grand scheme of things. So, knock you out and then put that there, and I think we should be good. I think this is the battle, and then finally I'm going to possibly, hopefully, remove my stupid weapon that I really, really despise. Oh, also, worth mentioning, the game doesn't hide information from you, which you would think is an obvious thing that the game shouldn't do, but, it's not that obvious. Yeah, the game doesn't withhold information from you. It tells you everything about your enemy's deck, the cards that it's going to play, the moves it's going to do, and it helps you make better informed decisions about, what actions to take and so on. But, ooh, okay. So which one of these has Summoning Sickness? You have Summoning Sickness. So the only one I can use it on realistically is you, because for the others that wouldn't do anything. Okay. It's a bit of extra damage, I appreciate it. Okay, let's clear that out. And good. There we go. I should have moved down and then... never mind. I can do it next turn anyway. Oh, for crying out loud. Okay, I think he's dead. And 3 more. There we go. Yippee! Spell. Oh, I like that. That's horrible. I don't have many cards to begin with. No, thank you. Willing Sacrifice. I like it. Goes with the theme of the deck well. But yeah, there you go. That has been Spellsword Cards Dungeontop. An interesting little game with a lot, well, quite a bit to say about the entire roguelike card building scene, and I suppose the mechanics of such games. It's new, it's something that hasn't been seen before exactly, this sort of blend of things. It's not entirely new, but, you know, nothing is, I suppose, anymore. It's good. It's good. I like it. I recommend it, and just never pick up this bow because it's actually horrible. But there you go. Other than that, I'm hoping to see more heroes, more decks in the game itself. Also, you can continue at any point, which you might say, well, that's not necessarily a thing worth mentioning. I've played 3 roguelites in the previous year where you couldn't continue. You had to restart, and the runs were like 2 hours long, some of them. I appreciate the ability to just walk away, do something, whatever, turn the game off, and then come back later, right? Thank you for that. It's a tiny little detail, but thank you. You also have the library here with the various cards that I've unlocked so far. There's also the Rogue, which I'm not sure if I'm... Okay, so the email said there's no terms of service. There's no what do you call it? The embargo. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. There's no embargo for this, so I can show everything that's in the game right now. There's also the Rogue here, so I'm assuming that's going to be implemented into the game soon after release, or maybe even on release. I don't have that information. All that it says is there's more to come. But as you can see, there's quite a few potions, quite a few minions for you to unlock. There's enough replayability. I'm just hoping that it gets more content added into it as time progresses, and they're teasing stuff here with the Magistry, the Tribes of the North, and the Port Haven Ministry. With all this, if it comes out January 16th with 3 classes and all these allegiances, I absolutely recommend it. It'll have enough variety in the decks themselves. Also, by the way, I don't care much about that run. I'm going to start a new one. You can also edit the deck, right? It costs gold to unlock these things, obviously, so we can pay, for example, 100 to unlock this, and we can add that to the deck. We can also... well, yeah, okay. So that's how it's done then. You can't start with more cards than this, you can just sort of drag them in and out. Fair enough, I suppose. There's progression in here, and I like that. A little bit more deck editing, I think, would be nice, though, for the future. Anyways, for now, Dungeontop, Spellsword cards, or other way around, whatever. I recommend it. It's a nice little game. It sort of depends on the price upon release, but it has a lot to say. There's quite a bit of replayability. If you like card building and if you like card games and deck building games and roguelites, I think this is going to be right up your alley. Especially in the later stages against tougher bosses, level 4, level 5, and beyond. You do need to think about what you're doing quite a bit, and it gets kind of challenging. So yeah, there you go. That's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned with the rest of the content that I produce on the channel. Until next time, have fun, take care, and bye-bye.